Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. As today, we've got Zorm in the shop, but, you know, a lot of what we've got left at this point is just general Crusade stuff and a few odds and ends here and there, a few folks to talk to around town. So nothing we really need to go out and about for, nothing we really need a battle raptor at the ready for either. At least, in theory. That said, we'll just start working our way around town, talk to people who have something new for us, and see where this takes us. It's all stuff that we've got to wrap up before the Queen shows up, though, in theory, that's still a few months out. Campaign months, that is. Ria is standing, arms folded, pensively observing the activity around her. Noticing you, she greets you with a nod. Hey, so you said you had some kind of personal thing you wanted to talk to me about? Ria sighs loudly. She obviously has trouble saying this. Her cold, businesslike manner melts away. I've said this in my head so many times, and now that I actually have to say it, I can't put two words together. I want to talk to my son very much. But he's avoiding me. I know you're friends, or at least he listens to you. If only you could convince him to at least approach me. Hold on, I'm sorry, your son? You sure you've got the right guy? Oh, of course, forgive me. Neath is not a real family name, exactly. My husband didn't have any at all, and neither did I. We took the name of the village he lived in. My son's name is Lan. He knows I'm here and is hiding from me. I can't blame him, but I might never have another chance to make amends and tell him I love him. Oh, I see. Yeah, I know Lan. Why doesn't he want to see you? Ria turns around. Isn't it obvious? I gave up and abandoned him. The day his father and I decided to go our separate ways, that was that. He must resent me, or hate me. Maybe he's ashamed of me. Or maybe he is wiser than me. Some children shouldn't meet their mothers. There's no point in reopening old wounds. But I still want to see him. So much. Okay, look, before I get involved in this, why did you walk out on him? Because Ria fights back tears as if the tragedy is still too raw for her. I broke, gave up, convinced myself that it was our decision, not my decision, that it would be better for everyone. I'm not sure if Lan told you, but I had other children besides him. They were different. All of them were special, and all were missing something. They just couldn't survive. The last one was born in pieces, and I realized he would be the last one. I just knew it. I didn't need any healers to tell me that. After that, it's like I sank into a black hole. I saw kin grieve. I saw Lan struggle to find a place for himself. The neighbors felt no pity for us when they heard about our struggles. They accused us of worshipping demons, Lamashtu, anyone. And I realized I was to blame for all of it. For making kin go up to the surface. For deciding to have children with him, no matter what. For appearing in kin's life, having Lan. And for what? So he could suffer? Kin and I discussed it. He said he would take our son and go to his tribe. We both thought we were relieving each other of a terrible burden. That at least we would be making Lan happy, because he would grow up among his own kind. I still ask myself if we did the right thing. If Lan doesn't want to see me, there was nothing right about it. How'd you and Kin even meet in the first place? I mean, there's got to be a story there, right? Ria smiles sadly. When it comes to love, does it matter who you are? Back when I was young, I was a smuggler. One day, my friends and I were attacked by our rivals. They were in such a hurry to get their plunder, they didn't even finish us off. They just threw us into a well. I ended up in the mongrel tunnels. Ken was young and curious. Luckily, our boots interested him less than we did. He brought me back to life. I screamed and stabbed him. That was probably a sign that our marriage wouldn't be a happy one. And still, we loved each other. He took care of me and was always ready to make me laugh. He was optimistic, but not the most driven man. I, on the contrary, was too driven. I dragged him to the surface. I believed back then I could move mountains if I just wanted it hard enough. But it didn't work out. So you really just walked away? I mean, you've got to know how bad that sounds, right? Ria looks you in the eye. Yes, I agree. All right, look, I'll talk to your son, but I can't make any promises. Ria nods, trying to maintain her composure, but tears are glistening in her eyes. Thank you. This means so much to me. Yeah, don't mention it. Hey, this is going to sound awkward, but can I see what you have for sale too? Just, while I'm here. Oh, yes, of course. Firadazzle & Co. Trading House provides only the very best. Just wanted to make sure she didn't have anything worth buying. The +3 stuff's not bad, but we're not going to have any shortage of that once we get into Act 4. And then the rest of this is just standard consumables, so really nothing worth our time, I think. Also, there's our new wardstone. It's seen slightly better days, but apparently it still works, so hopefully we will find some use for it. All right, Lan. Let's have this very awkward conversation. Oh, thank goodness, an icebreaker, so we don't have to jump right into it. Hey, Lan. How's that whole chief thing working out for you? Lan looks at you sullenly. If I just scream, "Ah!" for 5 minutes and rip all the hair out of my body, will that count as an answer to your question? I've always been a loner, as much as anyone can be in a tribe. Sure, I was never left out of any birthday parties, but only out of courtesy. I got used to caring only about myself. But now the entire tribe is my responsibility, and I'm expected to feed them, teach them, heal them, settle their disputes. Sometimes I feel like I'm going insane, and I can't do anything right. And sometimes I take a breath, look around, and everything seems to be working. No one's died, no one's crying or eating dirt, which means I've done all right. But look who I'm talking to. You understand it just as well as I do. What's it like, being a commander? We've actually got a few fun responses here. I mean, the first one's very Vex. He definitely would feel like he deserves it. The second one is just funny, and very appropriate in response to Lan's comment. As a halfling, though, I feel like anything related to heights really needs to be our go-to. It's thematically appropriate. I gotta say, I never imagined reaching these kinds of heights. I always used to come up short. But, I could get used to this. Are you suggesting I should try to enjoy my new position? I may struggle with that. Maybe I should get a servant to follow me around, fanning me whenever I want? Certainly couldn't hurt. I'm sure you've got a few fans out there. But, hey, look, this isn't really what I came over here to talk to you about. Ah, she got to you too. He clears his throat. It's not that I don't want to see her, I'm just busy. Lan waves his hand vaguely. With, this and that, Crusade matters. Sometimes I feel like a mother of a large brood. And besides, she didn't come here for me. She's here on business. I don't want to distract her. By the way, have you seen her card? I got one from a merchant. Land produces a business card from his pocket. Ria Neath, Firadazzle & Co. Trading House, Neurosian. Embossed in gold and everything. People with gold lettering on their business cards probably don't have time for idle chit-chat. I'll bet you need to book an appointment a week in advance. Even if I do, what would we talk about? You think I'm angry at her? I'm not. I never was. She and my dad had it rough. They didn't make it. And that's nobody's fault. But so much time has passed. She and I are just strangers now. If you happen to see her, tell her I've got a lot on my plate right now. Maybe some other time. I know she lives in Neurosian now. Maybe I'll send her a present on her birthday. Alright, dude. I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you on it. I told her I'd pass on the message, and I did. I'll go let her know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to really figure how Vex would feel about this whole thing. You know, on the one hand, Land's his friend, so he would kind of lean towards taking his side. But at the same time, I mean, he'd probably be sympathetic with Ria's position. I don't know. Ria notices your approach. She greets you with a nod. Hey, so yeah, I talked with Land, and I mean, it went pretty much how you'd expect it to. He's working through some things. Maybe just give him a little space. Ria nods. He is stubborn. I'm not sure if he gets it from me or his father. Please, try again. But now... Ria retrieves a package from her bag and opens it to reveal a small striped arrow, painted yellow and red, with blue fletching. There. It's an arrow from his very first bow. I made them so bright so that they could easily be seen in the grass. I showed him how to shoot. I taught him to train his vision, to account for the wind, to fix his string. Just take it to him as a souvenir, a keepsake. Tell him I've never forgotten about him. I know Lan won't forgive me, but he should know that, at least. Yeah, okay. Sure. Vex, what brings you back here? Look, your mom wanted me to give this to you. She says she never forgot you and she's very sorry. Lan takes the arrow carefully and examines it. This is my toy from when I was a kid. It's... Suddenly, he breaks the arrow with his clawed hand and flings it behind his back. Ah, it doesn't matter. Not anymore. She made her choice, and my dad let her. I don't want to blame her. I have no right to. Lan catches his breath and smiles with the human half of his mouth. Sorry, I must have woken up on the wrong side of the bed today. Sitting around Dresden for too long is bad for me. I start getting irritated by the smallest things. I'm always in the best mood when I'm killing demons on the wound. Don't tell her I threw away the arrow. And please tell her I don't want to see her. It'll be better for everyone that way. Alright, buddy. I had to try. Sorry to bother you. I'll take care of it. You know, it's times like this I kind of regret being a trickster, if mainly just because this background music does not mesh well with more somber events. Hey, yeah, Lan still doesn't want to talk. And he threw the arrow away, which he actually asked me not to tell you, but I thought I'd do it anyway for some reason. Ria grits her teeth, holding back tears, and tosses her head proudly. All right. It was just a silly sentimental piece of wood that won't change anything. He is right. He did the right thing. Land strides up to Ria and stops, as if he's hit an invisible wall. Mom, you look well. Ria clenches her fingers so tight her knuckles go white. Land, you're so tall. I see your entire tribe is here. How's Dad? Did he stay down below? He died. Oh, I see. Lan, buddy, I mean, it's great to see you here, but I thought you weren't coming. Lan sighs heavily. I still don't want to be here, but I would be a coward if I didn't come. It's all right, Mom. I'm not angry with you. I've just been very busy. Ria looks away. You're lying. Am I not even worthy of your anger, Lan? Do you hate me that much? All right, guys, if we're really going to do this, then you should just say what you feel. We're not going to get anywhere if you keep dancing around what you really think. Because we never fought. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. All right, we said hello. I've done my filial duty. Do you hate me, Lan? Mom, of course not. Lan frowns and shakes his head. I understand. For years, I've blamed myself for you and Dad trying to live like a normal family and have more children. If I hadn't given you false hope by being born alive and almost human, grief wouldn't have broken you. If anyone is to blame, it's me. I don't have the right to be angry with you. Look, I know it's not really my place to get involved in this, but you kind of dragged me into it anyway. So, for goodness sake, right's got nothing to do with it. Just talk about how you really feel. You're never going to work through it if you don't. Lan sighs, gathering his thoughts, and turns to you. I can't just joke my way through this, can I? You want me to turn to my mother and say, Mom, it doesn't matter that my last brother was taken out of you piece by piece. It doesn't matter that you've been banished from everywhere because of Dad and me. None of that matters because a selfish brat wanted to have a mom, and still does, even after growing up into a man? Is that what you want me to say? No, that will never happen. Never. Ria smiles sadly. You've already said everything you need to, sweetie. And you've never been a selfish brat. Headstrong and a little lazy, maybe, but never selfish. Forgive me. I love you so much, whether you believe it or not. I'm sorry that I wasn't strong enough to be the mother you deserve. Lan gives up. His face falls like someone let all the air out of him. I forgive you. I love you, too. What I said just now, I went too far. I was so lonely without you, and angry at you, at Dad, and at myself most of all. I know, Lan. I'm so sorry. Ria quickly wipes away her tears and smiles. You silly little cave potato. Don't you dare be angry at yourself. I've never regretted having you. Not a single day. I'm leaving soon, but when the war is over, find me in Neurosian. We'll visit your brothers together. I made sure their graves were looked after. Well, do you agree? Lan gulps and nods without saying a word. Aw. Well, that is fantastic. I'd like you to stay longer. And what will they say about you in legends? Lan, who went to the Crusade with his mommy? Warriors of Dresden, would you get a load of this? My own mother is humiliating me. And of course you didn't hear me say legend. Lan, buddy, you sure this is the best time for that? You've grown so big. Not the little potato I remember. How come no one snatched you up and married you yet? Mom, did you know that grown men whose mothers call them little potato in the middle of Dresden don't tend to have much luck with the ladies? Oh, sorry, dear. Will big potato work? I think I have the best son. If not in the entire world, then definitely in Dresden. Yeah, he's alright. A little weirdly bloodthirsty at times, but not bad. Oh, Ramian. Okay, okay. Claim's around here somewhere too, right? There he is, okay. Those two are recent arrivals, so I would like to check in with them. Ramian? Commander! Ramian greets you with an elegant bow. I'm pleased you found a moment to speak with me. Every moment with you is a genuine pleasure. Sure, sure. So, how are things back in Canabras? Quite uncheerful, I'm afraid. Oh, actually, I already told you all about this, so... I'm not sure I have any new dialogue. I do not. All right, fair enough. Well, still nice to see you, even if you had nothing new to say. I imagine he will play into things at some point. Let's go check in with Claim real quick. He should at least have something about Miamir for us, like a follow-up to his quest. Claim is holding a battered book with dozens of page markers sticking out from between its pages. Frowning, he underlines something on the current page and jots down a comment in the margin in small, neat script. Only then does he notice your approach, snapping the book shut. Greetings, Knight Commander. Claim. So, any word on Miamir? How's she doing? The knight's lips curve into a smile. Yes, she's doing much better. Thank you for saving her, Commander. It was painful to think that my mentor was dead, but even worse to contemplate the possibility that one of the most brilliant minds of our generation was about to be snuffed out. But now there's hope that she will return to our ranks. Well, that is great to hear. And it looks like the rest of your dialogue is all retread material, so I guess I can leave you be. Again, I have to imagine that's something that'll come back into play later in the game, likely Act 5, which I have never had a chance to really explore, so that'll be fun. Let's get some rest. We'll swap back off to a cheapo recipe. No need to waste ingredients while we're here. And let's do Oh, communal stoneskin. That's a good one. That, I believe, bypasses the normal diamond dust requirement.
Sometimes victory requires you to do things for which the gods will strip a paladin of her powers. You need more weapons training, or you'll be helpless in such a situation.
Are you serious? Training for failure? For that alone, the goddess would strip me of my powers, and she would be right to.
That's actually a pretty interesting conversation.
Greetings to the leader of my Crusader host.
Queen Galfrey of Mendev meets your gaze. Her eyes are bright and clear, and her voice rings with solemn triumph.
I must admit, I was astounded by what happened to the Sword of Valor under the influence of your power. After arriving, my first concern was to visit the relic and pray before my goddess's banner, only to discover that it was no longer her banner. However, we have more pressing matters to discuss at present. I received regular reports about the course of your activities, and I wish to take a moment to publicly thank you, Knight Commander. Your victories as a military commander are undeniable and will not be forgotten.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. That's very diplomatically put. I can't help but notice you are very specifically singling out my combat prowess. Thanks.
It was my pleasure to work on this one matter with you, Commander.
Yeah, I'm about to get fired.
We will discuss future plans and military objectives later. Now, for the main purpose of my visit. The Hand of the Inheritor summoned me here. He believes that you will require my help when you attack the Midnight Fane. A Demon Lord temple virtually on top of a Crusader stronghold. No one could have predicted it. The sooner we bring it down, the better.
The Queen squeezes the bridge of her nose between her thumb and forefinger, seeming lost in thought. So you must think this is pretty serious if you came all the way out here yourself.
Of course. We reclaimed Dresden. This is a significant achievement for the Fifth Crusade. It was the moment when we proved that we could win.
The Queen's response seems hesitant.
But we must take the next step. We must capture a valuable asset of the enemy. The Fane is the ideal target, because it will allow us to eliminate the threat hanging over Dresden and destroy a key outpost of the Abyssal armies in one foul swoop. That is why I am here, and why I shall be going on the attack with you.
Oh boy, look at all these options we are not going to pick. So you're really sure you're up for this? I'm happy to take care of it.
I don't wish to boast, Commander, but on my own I'm worth as much as a whole troop. Besides, I feel that I am needed here, and my blade has sat in its scabbard long enough.
I mean, if you say so. How are things back in Mendev?
Calm. And by that I mean like the calm before the storm. We fended off an attack on Rosian, and since then, aside from a few skirmishes on the frontier, we have seen neither hide nor hair of any demons. There is good news as well. Word of the Fifth Crusade's victories is spreading far and wide, inspiring new volunteers to join our ranks. The Church of Iomedae has received a record number of donations, which are now being used to keep your forces fed and armed. We are growing stronger, and we have to believe that this newfound strength will be enough to win this war.
Man, she does not like me. But to be fair, I haven't really given her much reason to. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Give me a sign when you are ready.
Well, this is gonna suck. She is absolutely firing us. 1,000,000%. It's funny, I've actually played up to this part with 2 other characters, and she had a much warmer reception for both of them. And one of those guys was a lich, so I mean, that's saying something. But, you know, what's done is done. I deliberately cold-shouldered her just to see what would happen. And now we reap what we have sown. We live with the consequences, and I'm fine with that. Besides, we know long-term it'll all work out for us, probably. I'm like 92% sure of that. Okay, so before we assault the Fane, we have to wrap up the rest of our Act 3 stuff, which I actually thought we'd have more time for. But in retrospect, I actually now realize I didn't take into account the extra time it would take us to hit the DLC content, because that did end up eating almost a month of extra campaign time. Normally, we'd have several weeks of spare time to play with before the Queen arrived. We're actually pretty close. The main thing we haven't done is max out our logistics, which we can actually do shortly. All we have to do is get our new bastion set up, and then fill it up with new buildings. That doesn't look right. There we go. But obviously we've already upgraded this place. I must have done that off screen and completely forgotten about it. We've got a teleport circle there and everything. So, you know what? I think it's time to upgrade the fort right near Canabris. Especially since we know one of the upcoming DLC will actually give us an excuse to go back to Canabris. Which I guess would be, good old Gargoyle Canyon. Yeah, this will be a non-military outpost. We'll put a bunch of resource gathering buildings here. And a teleportal, of course. That'll shore up our resources for the impending chapters. I wonder why it keeps doing that. It keeps giving us a 4x4 grid when we initially come in, even though bastions are supposed to be 3x3. Alright, so what else can we build here? I like the bonuses on breweries. I just hate that 1 in 20 chance of random actions. Market's a no-brainer. Let's get one of those going. Teleportation circle, obviously. We do need a sanctuary. And let's move the hospital real quick, because I would like a monument right in the middle of town. Hospital right next to the teleportal makes sense for triage purposes. Let's move the market. I want to put the sanctuary next to the hospital. Sorry, I'm basically playing high fantasy Sims in my brain right now. Completely pointless, but I gotta do it. Okay, so what? I was about to build something. What? Sanctuary. Right. That is why I moved the marketplace. I want the sanctuary right next to the hospital. Which leaves us with one slot and nothing to really fill it with, so I guess we'll go... Shelter. We might get some use out of that. Besides, we're mostly doing this for the logistics bump. That should be more than enough to trigger our final logistics event. Now let's get that final Bastion upgrade going. I believe we need 1,000 material. Guess I could just type it. Yeah, Bastion to Fortress. That is the 4x4 grid. Which means we just have to push up the clock until the logistics event pops. Though in retrospect, I now realize that with that Bastion project running, we'll have to wait a full 2 weeks before we can actually do the logistics event. We'll just skim through this real quick, hit the highlights. The Runaway. It has been revealed that one of the Crusaders is a criminal on the run. 1 year ago, that knight murdered a noble in Nerosian and escaped justice. The killer repented and joined the Crusader army to atone for his sin. But the daughter of the murdered aristocrat wants vengeance and requests that the criminal be arrested and tried. Which we could do for a modest payout, but that would be completely out of character. We could take him under our protection, which would get us morale, which we don't need. Or we could kill him, which would net us an Unholy Flail +4. Obviously useless to us, but worth a fair chunk of change. Or we could kill the heir, which would get us quite a bit, but I feel like that's a bit too far even for Vex. He is not that openly unscrupulous. Honestly, given that we worship Callistria, I feel like aiding and abetting a quest for vengeance is more our speed. I mean, on the one hand, if this were just like a thief or some other petty crook, I'd certainly be willing to take him under our wing, but straight up murdering someone, that feels different. Not to mention, I feel like this is something that would fall well within the bounds of our authority to do. Goodness knows, we've had people clamoring for us to execute people over much more trivial things. The murderer met an unfortunate death during a foray, and the daughter of the noble he had killed was very grateful to the commander. She thought that coin would be too humble a token of appreciation for the exacted vengeance, so she had her family's relic delivered to Dresden, where it was promptly sold for scrap. Alright, back to it. Birthright. Nobles often look down on commoners, as aristocrats are taught from birth that they are better than the lowborn. This attitude causes quarrels between them and common warriors, and the officers have asked the commander to intervene. I feel like we've done this one before. This feels really familiar. And obviously our best option is option number 4 here. Seela acted as the head judge at the tournament, where everyone was given a chance to prove their worth. The nobles went up against the commoners, and only strength and skill decided the outcome of each fight. Upon witnessing what common warriors were capable of, the aristocrats had no choice but to acknowledge their valor. The tournament served as a bonding experience for the Crusaders. Fantastic. And onward once more. In our midst, spies of the Abyss have attempted to infiltrate Dresden to find out the commander's plans. It was only by chance that they were stopped. The officers have suggested an increase to security in anticipation of new attempts by the demons. Again, that feels really familiar. I feel like we've done this. Yeah, and again, option 4, obviously our best choice here. And it is time. Let's do this. One last reform for the road. You didn't miss much else. I had to do some reinforcement stuff, take out a couple of demon armies, no big deal. I think this is the last thing we have to do for Act 3, but feel free to let me know if there's anything I'm overlooking. We'll have a small bit of downtime between this episode and the next, so if I'm overlooking anything glaring, I want to make sure we hit it. Commander, Dorgelinda's one eye is looking at you grimly. Next to her stands a shackled half-elf. This is Corporal Nikheld Bartley. He was detained while stealing army property. During interrogation, he admitted to being one of the leaders of the Fellows of the Crusade. Based on his account, we've identified and arrested the rest of the leaders of the Fellows. The law says this kind of offense in wartime warrants a noose. She shoots Nikheld a sullen look. But they are our soldiers, after all. We fought together more than once. It's rotten hanging your comrades. I say we boot them all the way back to Nerosian in chains. Let them be tried like common thieves. They'll serve their time, and hopefully these sorry excuses for bandits will wise up a bit. What bandits? Bandits would have already hightailed it from Dresden. These guys are all right. We could use them for things. Don't split on your mates, Vex. That's low. Let's tuck them away in some far-off garrison, and if anybody asks, we'll say they legged it. They have stumbled. They're criminals. But they're also mortals who've chosen to risk their lives in order to stop a demonic invasion. Surely that mitigates their guilt, at least a little. There's no need for trials or gallows. We should show mercy, and give them a chance to atone for what they've done. Well, I think they're bandits, plain and simple. And the gallows is where they belong. I can tie nooses for every one of them myself, if you'd like. Lan, I thought we talked about this. Bartley, buddy, do you want to maybe tell me your side of things here? I did what I did. Nikheld looks at you defiantly. I won't lie. I'll tell you everything, and you can do what you will. Pardon me if you'd like, and if not, go ahead and execute me. Here's how it went. In the last battle, some of our company ran into some enemies with an infectious plague. When they got back to the barracks, half of them came down with something. They were hot as coals and raving, crying green slime instead of tears. And the smell. They were rotting alive. The healers helped everyone they could, bless them, but there just weren't enough healing potions for everyone. So my guys are lying there rotting away, and the quartermaster, that cur, he just shrugs. We're out, he says, looking at me all smug. Well, we roughed him up a little, checked his cabinet, and what do you know? He did have potions. A whole crate of them. We ran straight back to the infirmary, and we saved our friends. And that was it. They shackled us and brought us to you for judgment. If you think I'm a criminal, then fine, sentence me. But I reckon the real criminals here are the quartermasters. They just sit there, fat and happy, hoarding all the goods the kingdom gives them. Meanwhile, we're flopping about in the dirt and the blood. And if we need anything, the answer's always the same. We're out. Corporal Bartley forgot to mention that he beat the quartermaster almost to death and left him to bleed out. It's a miracle the poor man's still breathing. And that the healing potions were intended for command staff. The quartermaster had an order. He was to die sooner than let anyone steal items of strategic importance. The death of a trained officer is a much heavier blow than the death of a common soldier. Without capable officers, our losses could grow tenfold. Yeah, that does feel like a bit of an oversight in your story, Bartley. I mean, look, I'm sympathetic, but still. He also failed to mention a dozen previous cases of theft, which cannot be so neatly excused by a touching concern for his comrades, and a whole warehouse worth of stolen goods he stashed near the city walls. Dorgelinda shakes her head grimly, glowering at Nikheld. No way around it, lads. You've been caught. We have to punish you. Otherwise, we can kiss goodbye to any sense of order. I mean, to be fair, I feel like we did that the second I implemented helter-skelter logistics. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. We're here to judge you, not me. So, any closing argument? You can't put this all on us. We're soldiers. We're told to survive to fight another day, and that's exactly what we're doing. It's our blood that pays for your victories. And if we're winning and Mendev still can't give us what we need, then they're the scumbags, not us. You told us you'd cover for us if need be. You turn a blind eye here and there. You showed us sympathy. And now you're backing out? It was fine to do once, twice, but 3 times, it's the gallows? Kind of putting me on the spot here, but... You know what, let me talk it over with my counsel. Of course, let's talk it through. We can't rush a decision like this. So, Waldjif, you feel like we should just let these guys walk? Not saying I disagree with you, but how do you see this paying off? Remember how you pulled me from behind the bars in Canabris? You ever regretted it since? Waldjif, buddy, I love you, man, but that is a terrible question to ask me. Waldjif falters. Actually, don't answer that. Anyway, what I mean is, they may be thieves, but they're still here. In the world God's damned wound, fighting demons, even though they could have been miles away from here by now if they wanted. Alright, so they messed up. But these are our guys, and we need them in this war. Save their skins now, and they'll be loyal to you forever. Hush this all up and keep it out of the courts. Send them off to some remote fort somewhere. They won't forget your kindness, just you wait. They'll fight for you until they die. Or we win. Aru, you're on a similar wavelength, right? Commander, we are more than an army. We are crusaders. A holy brotherhood that protects this beautiful world from absolute evil. These people have committed a crime and need to be punished. But we can't treat them like common marauders. There can be no place for whips and gallows on this sacred march. Spare them. Give them a chance to atone, as you did for me. You'll see. It'll work better than the most severe punishment. Yeah, what's the point of punishing criminals anyway? We can just wag a finger at them and ask for a pinky promise never to do it again. And tomorrow those dirtbags will steal our whole citadel one brick at a time, to build themselves nice little mansions, with a view of the wound. Right, so you think we should just kill them and be done with it. Are these the acts of crusaders? No, they're the acts of highwaymen. And at the end of that highway, there's a tall tree with a sturdy branch waiting for them. The fact that they're crusaders doesn't excuse them. On the contrary, their crimes are corrupting our army from the inside. There can be no prison for them, only execution. And let it be known to all, if anyone pockets a single button from our spoils ever again, let alone commits a robbery, they'll share the same fate. They're not some outsiders. They broke the law, yes, but before that, didn't they prove that they're ready to die for complete strangers? I agree that they should do penance for their sins, but they should do it here among us, repentantly serving the Crusade's cause. Right, because that clearly worked out with Staunton. Linda, thoughts? We're at war, and in war there's only one sentence for this type of thing. Execution in front of the ranks. But warriors of the Crusade should get some sort of leniency for their past deeds, shouldn't they? I've looked into the records of every fellow, and let me say this. None of them have ever faltered in combat. None have ever abandoned their comrades. They fought with daring and bravery. They've given it their all, and the other soldiers respect them. It feels awful to hang people like that. We'll send them to Nerosian. Let the judge give them 5 or so years of hard labor. They say it clears your head right up. Yeah, they clearly forgot that in Mendev only nobles and rich people are allowed to steal. Oh, pardon me, not steal. Collect taxes and care about their wealthy selves. And if a simple lad grabs a loaf without permission because he's starving to death, his options are gallows and hard labor. Man, I love this country we're protecting. Too real, Waljif. Too real. But, yeah, I think I've made a decision. So, what should we do? So letting them go nets us extra material and finance income for each region we control, which I think is like 6 right now. Not all that notable, but extra income is extra income. It does add up. Then a ruse thing grants extra income based on positive morale. Interesting. We are generally in maxed out positive morale. Lands thing grants us the salvage perk, extra income each time we take out an enemy army. Not bad, but again, a fairly trivial amount in the grand scheme of things. And Dorgelinda's grants a flat plus 5% income bonus on all 3 categories, which honestly is probably our best option. But at the same time, sending people back to the nearest city to face trial really doesn't feel like a Vex thing to do. Honestly, I feel like Waljif's suggestion gets us the lowest reward. But I'd have to run the numbers, I suppose. Still, it's in character, and ultimately we're going to have more than enough resources anyway, so yeah, we'll go for it. Alright, Waljif, you win. We'll hush this up and send the offenders to a distant fort. I wish them luck in their future endeavors. Great! You'll see, it always pays to have folks around who are grateful to you personally. Make 'em work for the rescue, and we'll tell the soldiers some tale about a daring escape on a pack of trained bullets. I certainly hope that does it for our fellows' problem. Who knows, maybe our supply situation is finally sorted, and I won't have to assemble the Logistics Council in full again? We can only hope. And with that, I believe we are officially done with Act 3. At least all of the pre-Fane stuff. I believe the Fane itself is also part of the Act 3 content. But I think once we set foot in there, it is essentially the point of no return. Which means this is probably a good place to call it, because there are at least a few things I should take care of before we actually lock ourselves in on that path. Not the least of which is respecking Zorm. He's still sitting at level 0 right now. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of our off-screen bookkeeping, make sure we're ready for this. And be sure to let me know if you think there's anything I'm overlooking. And we will pick up here next time, as we begin the final stage of Act 3, and set our sights on the second half of the game. I guess technically the last 40%, really. Slowly but surely, we are getting there. Minus the impending DLC. We've still got a few of those in the wings. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. Including but not limited to Dragon Matrix 7, Revenant, Alois, Drakiith, Theory V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Rowan Church, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
It was my pleasure to work on this one matter with you, Commander.